Good evening, everybody. It's Tuesday night, and you know that only means one thing, the best thing. It's Chappie and Arnie. Fantasy sports at its very best. Chappie, do you notice the shirt I have on tonight? I was tired of getting grief from the Hat Man, so I wore King Hap's shirt tonight. I guess he'll be happy. But you see the universe we're in behind me, right? You see the universe. And it's such a great night because in Yankee Stadium, as we speak, there's a pitcher, and he's dealing, Chappie. He's dealing, and you know who it is. Number 47.
No, we've talked about it for a couple weeks now, right? It's not been all biscuits and gravy, but it's about time that Jordan Montgomery started looking like we said he was going to everybody a couple weeks back, right?
Of course, now as I speak, Ozuna hits a 3-run bomb in the 6th, and it cuts the Yankee lead to 8-3. But up until that point, you had two potentially great rookie pitchers, Jordan Montgomery and Touki Toussaint, and Touki just didn't have it tonight against the Yankee bats.
Now, I called it at 7 o'clock tonight. I said Touki was due for a bad game, and he came through.
Bryce Wilson came in.
Couldn't find a plate.
And Judge took him out. I mean, so that's the way it goes, right?
Yeah. Quick, right?
Right field, and they put a dent. They showed it on television. Judge's homer puts a dent in the foam padding in the outfield wall.
Yeah, that homer was going places.
Yeah.
It had a date.
And how about the Blue Jays with a home game tonight?
Yeah, I haven't, been on there. I didn't get a chance to see it, but, interesting. I was listening to some of the Negro League lineage that they have in Buffalo, and I thought that was pretty cool. So, any chance you get to see a different city in a different venue, I think that's neat. So, plus the Blue Jays are fun to watch.
And to give you an update on that one, Chappie, we're going into 8th inning. It's Toronto 4, Miami 1, Bo Bichette, a 3-run homer, the opening day. There you go. Let's hear some Bo Bichette love. How about that? Because it's only a matter of time, right?
Yeah, King Hap was going to cut him on last week's show.
Cut Bo Bichette?
Cut Bo Bichette. I begged him not to.
There's a reason why this is the Chappie and Arnie hour and not the Chappie and King Hap hour, right? Don't go cutting Bo Bichette, boys, I'm telling you.
I mean, and it's funny because at 7 o'clock I was talking about you can't let these guys linger. If someone's not performing, Willie Calhoun, you got to cut bait. But you can't cut bait on a guy like Bo Bichette. You have to give him a chance because he is truly a 5-tool player. And there's not many of those. And
his average is now up to 286. He's hitting second in that order. He's 1 for 4 tonight with that 3-run homer. Leading off tonight, Biggio is 2 for 4.
He's a stud.
His average was in the 170s a few days ago. It's now, I know it's only 214, but he's starting to hit. And don't you love that left-right combination 1-2 in Toronto, those young kids? I love it. I think they're going to score a bunch of runs.
I do too. And I'll tell you, we both talked about Lourdes as well. I think Lourdes is one of the most underrated players in the majors. So you talking about 1, 2, 3 with those guys, and the ages of those players. You're looking at 22, 23, 25 years old. I just to me that's as potent as a 1, 2, 3 in the game that there is potentially. The surprise to me is Biggio. I knew Biggio was good. I didn't realize he's going to be quite as good as he has been and potentially looks to be. What are your thoughts on Gavin?
I like him at the top of that order, Chappie. I think for fantasy and reality, your job as a leadoff hitter is to watch as many pitches, take as many pitches, figure out what's going on. I think it's going to make him a better overall hitter hitting in that leadoff spot because he's going to be more selective than he might be hitting down in the order, even in the 3 or 5 hole. So I think it's going to be good long-term for Gavin to hit that leadoff spot. And then, of course, you got Bichette and Lourdes right behind you. I think it's keg getting ready to go off, and his average has gone up about 30 points in the last 3 or 4 days.
Well, and I think the other part to that, Arnie, is, and for as much guff as we've given him over the past month, we all know Vladimir's going to hit. I mean, it's just a matter of time. Yes, he's not in the best shape, but Guerrero's going to hit. So you talk about the top end of that lineup. Tell me why they can't make a deep run, Arn.
Well, and the pitching is better than advertised, Chappie.
Pearson's amazing.
He's amazing. I got 2 of his PSA 10s now, too. He's amazing. They pick up the pitcher, the staff in the offseason. They get Ryu from the Dodgers. Shoemaker's not a bad pitcher.
No.
And, they're good enough. 8 teams make the playoffs. They're good enough to make one of those 8 slots.
Have you sat down and watched Pearson pitch yet?
Yes.
I'll tell you what I took away from watching him the other night. It's funny. The good ones just make a pop, right? Mm-hmm. They just have a different sound. I've never seen a pitcher with bite on a slider the way his does. It has such a late, sharp break. You can see where it might be his best pitch. And we're talking about a kid who's throwing 99 miles an hour.
He's got 2 put-away pitches. That fastball is a put-away, and that slider is a put-away.
It's so
And
gross.
when you have 2 nasty put-away pitches, you don't see that very often. And here he's got 2, much less just 1. I got to make a comment. Mike Harrington, a.k.a. King Hap, is telling me how handsome I look tonight. Well, my comment is, King Hap, I always look good. I mean, nothing's changed. Are you kidding me? So, Chappie, a couple things. I'm watching the Cubs and the Indians tonight. It was a night where Mike Clevenger was scheduled to be the starting pitcher. He was to square off against John Lester in what early in the season would be a game of aces. Well, we know what happened this weekend. He's now on the restricted list, is Clevenger. He can't come back until a minimum of Friday. Meanwhile, the Little Bears, 6. The Tribe, 0. How much of an impact, Chappie, does the lack of maturity on Plesac and Clevenger's part affect what had been a tremendous start to a season for this pitching staff?
Well, it just, like I said earlier, in essence, every game's 3 games. So you're talking about it, even if it's just a start each for Plesac and Clevenger, you're talking about 6 games. It's huge when you're talking about as tight a margins as we're going to be dealing with. So I'll tell you, I cuss every night because I know I've told you I have MLB.com, and the Cubs are blacked out here. I don't get to watch the Cubs ever. But I'll tell you, it doesn't mean I'm not following them. Obviously, I'm a huge Cubs fan. What I've loved, I love the David Ross. And the thing I like about David Ross is all of those pitchers have just done what we've all known that they can do. And now they're talking about getting Jose Quintana back and him coming out of the bullpen.
Mm-hmm.
Arnie, I see him as a closer, or at least a leverage guy for this team. And I think that's a good thing. Because Ross just has a way to talk to pitchers, and I think that's why you see so many of these managers as former catchers these days. They just have a way to talk to these pitchers and get them to understand approach, consistency, repetition. And that's what it's all about, right?
And it's a buy-in that the Cubs are doing. They're buying into David Ross's philosophy. I mean, you look at the score tonight, 6-0. I mean, look, the starting pitcher for Cleveland, he went 4 innings, only gave up 1 run.
Yeah.
The Cubs are getting those, what I'm going to call late 90 Yankee at-bats.
Yeah.
They're taking pitchers.
They lean on you.
they're wearing pitchers down. They're getting to that bullpen.
Yep.
That's where they're buying into the philosophy. It can be a different hero every night. That's where this is a team to be reckoned with. It's not a one-person, one-man gang. The Cubs, to me, I think, run away with the Central. I don't think it's close. I don't think it's close if St. Louis had played more than 5 games. I just don't think the Cardinals have the firepower, even if they were playing games right now. The Cubs just find a different way every night, and I think they see it working. Why not buy in, right?
Yeah, Dave Ross, like I said, I just can't say enough how impressed I am with Dave Ross, and I knew I would be. The thing about that, to your point, the 90s at-bat for the Yankees, they lean on you. And it's funny because when you have guys like Schwarber and Rizzo and Bryant and even Happ, and of course, my affinity for Contreras, when you have those guys and you're facing a worn-down pitcher, they're going to pounce. They're going to score a lot of runs that way. Mm-hmm. And what that does, like you said, it takes pressure off of all of those other guys. I think it's really tough because everybody knows how good the Dodgers are. The Cubs might be the second best team in the National League.
Well, and we, if they're not, the Padres, I think, are. I think the Padres' record may not show it, but I like the Padres better than I like the Rockies right now. And I got to bring this up because we've held off. We've not talked about him. I'm going to come back to the Cubs in just a moment. I tell you what, let's finish with the Cubs. I'm looking at the box score, Chappie. Here's what's interesting. On a game where they lead 6-0, no hits from the leadoff man, Chris Bryant. No hits from the second batter, Rizzo. But look at from 3 on down. Baez, he's got a base hit and scored a run. Schwarber, a hit and a run. Contreras, a hit and a run. Happ, a hit and a run. You see where I'm going with this. Hayward, 2 for 3 with a home run. Kipnis, 1 for 2 with a double. I mean, it's like constant pressure all the way down the order. And look, when your 9-hitter, Jason Kipnis, who is healthy, is hitting .389, that's something to be said for a team. What a ball club.
Yeah, and who did I tell you about in the offseason, Arnie? Who's the DH tonight for the Cubs?
DH tonight is Caratini.
And what's he doing? How's he doing?
He's not doing it tonight, but he's hitting .286 on the year.
Yeah.
That's after an 0 for 3 tonight, so he's probably hitting around .295, .297 before the night started.
Right. So that's one of those things where people don't realize the luxury that you have when you have 2 capable catchers, and you can rest a guy like Wilson Contreras. That adds a lot of life to his bat.
It's now 6-1. Cleveland just scored a run in the bottom of the 6th. But here's the point I'd like to make about the Cubs before I move on to this guy I got to talk about. I'm dying to talk about him, but here we go. How many 2-out RBIs have the Cubs had tonight of their 6 runs? How many came with 2 outs? Just take a guess.
All of them.
4. 3-run homer by Jason Hayward. And here's a player we've talked about. I love him. And he's not batting 9th tonight. He's not batting 8th. He's not batting 7th. He's moved up to 6th in the order. And his manager has said, David Ross, he is my center fielder. And when the manager says that, you pick him up in fantasy, you put him in your lineup, and that is the one and the only Ian Happ.
Called him a star, if I'm not mistaken, right? Didn't he call him a star?
Called him a star, called him the best center fielder on the team.
Yeah.
And said he's playing every day.
Yeah. And the thing about it is, we've talked about it. I know you and I have talked about it. I've talked about it on my show. It's been about opportunity for Happ. He had a little road bump year before last, but when you project his numbers out for a full season, he's hitting around 30 homers. You don't take that out of your center fielder with potentially